Hello, everyone. We'll get started in about a couple minutes as last few people log on in. Hello, everyone. I'll get started with at least a little bit of introductions as the last few people hopefully log on after registering for this webinar. Thanks, everybody, for joining me, Dan Sabanash, Director of Shopper Marketing for Great Northern Instore. I work really to help our customers be more insightful with the activations that we put together for Instore so they create the most impact and at the end of the day, the most shopper engagement and sales results. So that's kind of my role, and one part of that is to really is we kind of get out to the marketplace periodically throughout the year to look at certain seasons or categories to really understand what's going on in the retail marketplace and bring those findings to you all. Just as a quick for Great Northern Instore as a top line. There we go. First off, I love to always start with our company's mission is to help our customers win by what others can't or won't. And this is one piece of that is we really like to dig into the insights of what's happening in the marketplace and with shoppers. So again, we can provide the best possible solutions as a company that designs and manufactures a whole host of in-store activations ranging from temporary all the way through permanent activations. What we're going to go through today is a brief market overview of what I see going on in the marketplace. I realize most of you are probably bigger experts in that since you work in the consumer electronics industries or in those departments or in retailers that work in that space, but just kind of give an overall landscape of how I frame it, a little bit on our audit, and then hit upon a couple of the key areas that we were definitely looking for in activations, in engagement and education, and then touch upon some opportunities after reviewing all the images and audits that we performed. From a logistical standpoint, this is a webinar, which I always find different in that I'm just speaking to an audience, but please, if you have questions, use the GoToWebinar panel there. I'll kind of monitor that. Might not see them live as they come up, but definitely at the end of the webinar, we'll see what's up there and can try to answer them. I do want to also relay that this is probably the tip of the iceberg, and if someone's got further interest and really wants to have a conversation following this, please don't hesitate to reach out. You'll get an email with my contact information and would love to continue the dialogue of how we can really create some impactful activations. So starting off, I think we all know, obviously, online is being, really coming into its own of late. In fact, there were several different surveys that really showed for a holiday season that just completed, online was the #1 retail channel as a specific channel. And why, according to Deloitte's holiday survey, a few key things that I think bring insight to why this has become such a popular shopping spot. One, easy to search. There's quality products, obviously variety. You can find just about anything, as well as particularly unique offerings that you might not find in your local store. And you also have the opportunity for various delivery options, so you don't have to lug something large home or potentially deliver it to the person you're gifting it to, etc. There's different ways to go about that. Brick and mortar, according to the same survey, though, obviously is still hugely relevant, and still, when you combine all the channels, is definitely still the place where shoppers go. Some of the key tidbits of why shoppers in the holiday season, but I think this applies across the entire year, why is this relevant? Number one, it's the ability to interact with the products. And I think this, especially as we look at consumer electronics and all the various products that kind of fall under that umbrella, that's probably a real key factor, and we saw that in our auditing. Secondly, avoiding shipping costs, realizing that a lot of this is coming down. You can pay Amazon Prime membership and get free 2-day shipping, but there still are for various products, or if you want it faster, you got to pay. Obviously, if you go to a store, you can pick it up, not have to pay for that. And also, I think very importantly is the third one, is that it just gives me ideas and inspiration. I think this goes back to some of the human nature of shopping and wanting just that bit of inspiration, something different. Obviously, there's a variety of shopping missions, but especially when you're getting that purchase that is something that is above and beyond, more of a want than a need, it's helping inspire that shopper, inspire that consumer, give them various ideas of what's possible, which is a little bit tougher yet online in terms of that searching and finding. If you have a specific item, easy to get after, but sometimes browsing can be a bit challenging in the digital environment. Again, it's rapidly changing and adjusting and a lot of adaptations, but that ability to go to a store and just see the products out there, experience them is something that shoppers definitely appreciate. And Deloitte also ran a newer survey here for the beginning of 2018, which I found very interesting. One of the key points is interviewing the youngest generation of shoppers, those Gen Zs, 18 to 22. There's a few key things that I think I'm going to highlight and touch upon as we go through our audit, and definitely circle back to at the end of the conversation. And these three key things are new technologies are going to be fundamental to shopping. And in this realm, it meant the various things like the Amazon Go store, where they don't have to go through a checkout line any longer. The store itself is smart enough to know what you picked up and not have that bother of the checkout process that is to some degree a hassle. Customer experience. It's all about engagement and interaction. Obviously, this is a key thing that they want now, but they only see this as being more and more important and hoping this continues to evolve and improve. And finally, as we all know, knowing in this industry, there is a variety of those big experiential stores. Frankly, they're just set up and serve as galleries. And again, these shoppers, this newest generation of shoppers is really into those as that experiential, where they're able to really understand the products, kind of almost live with them, whether it's virtually or with the product a bit right there in the showroom, to understand how it works, how's it going to impact before they drop their dollars down for that purchase. So they see that as a very valuable thing, and how do we bring that into the retail experience to make your products and your environments win? So interestingly, obviously we've all heard about the challenges of retail, but actually fourth quarter 2017 was pretty strong. Target just announced their results, a positive 3.6% revenue growth here in the U.S., which was strong. Walmart earlier on, a little bit behind them, but again, good growth here. Actually, the third store that we went out and audited in terms of big box consumer electronics was Best Buy, and they actually saw a phenomenal fourth quarter. And interestingly, for all of these companies, they saw strong online growth, but no doubt brick and mortar was a big part of the growth. And Best Buy particularly, highlighted that their stores did very well, very well, driving up and bolstering this number. So some strong results there in some of the key retailers that we audited for consumer electronics. Guaranteed, these results are across the entire chains, not just their departments, obviously, with Best Buy being mainly consumer electronics. So our audit, again, as I mentioned, Great Northern Instore really goes at our process with a approach that is grounded in insights. That's the foundation, enables our team and partnering with our customers to drive a strong briefing, allowing our creative team to work their magic in ideation. Obviously, it steps through development, execution, but as I always love to say, it doesn't end when it leaves our dock door. We got to measure it so we can do better and improve the next time. So it's kind of the approach that we take, and obviously these sort of audits are part of that, helping form that foundational grounding in insights to fuel our creative teams. And what we use for the audit is we've developed our own proprietary app that can help us in a variety of ways, but particularly for these sort of category or seasonal audits, we utilize it to with our own team to get out across the country. We have a national sales force, so we've touched stores from literally New York, New Jersey, all the way across the country to California, and gathers this information, loads up onto an online portal, which I get the pleasure of accessing and pulling together the great report out you're going to see today. So, as I mentioned, diving into this, we really focused, and it always helps us to focus our audit so we really can get a strong view in key areas. We focused on Target, Walmart, Best Buy, those big box stores that are selling consumer electronics. And two key areas of our focus were how activations were engaging the shopper, and also how they're educating the shopper. Obviously, of critical importance with all the various features, benefits to all the various devices, and how activations are achieving that. So the first part is about engaging the shopper. And one of the first things, by having that focus and really getting out there, and we looked at over 270 discrete activations, and can pull together beautiful, nice charts like this, where literally 54% of the activations we observed had some sort of lighting. What do you mean by lighting? Lighting could be like this particular Linksys activation in Best Buy, where literally just their beautiful logo is backlit, lit up, pops. So again, looking down a standard aisle, the logo is highlighted. A shopper recognizes the brand. End cap at Best Buy, in this case, highlighting two sorts of lighting. One, the entire back panel, just to create that look, which highlights obviously iRobot and the greater key claim and the greater visual, as well as using the underlighting to really highlight a couple of sample products that are out there on the display. And then Fitbit also does well, obviously tying lighting into their branding with a bit of highlighting some of their logo elements, but also utilizing the teal color of their brand and kind of highlighting that, circling the activation. They also use that same lighting to also underlight the products, to highlight the products themselves as a shopper comes up and approaches. Interestingly, again, we see this a decent amount of the time. The additional sizes and colors available on Walmart.com, really kind of bridging the physical store with also the greater assortment that can be available online here in this activation. With lighting, I'll say this was also one area we ventured to Euroshop about a year ago now, almost exactly, and a phenomenal show that takes place every 3 years in Germany, a show that is literally, for those that have been to Global Shop, 10 times the size of Global Shop in terms of square footage and exhibitors and attendees. And lighting was a key area that we observed in that entire show. Obviously, in our homes, we're all buying LED lights. One, it's for the energy savings, so that opportunity to bring that to in-store, whether that's in permanent or temporary, where batteries can be applied to obviously highlight key features of a display are now possible. And then obviously the other aspect of adding these to our homes is the giant variety of control you can have over them in terms of color, in terms of brightness, in terms of tone and mood they set. We saw them throughout Euroshop used in a variety of applications. And I think our biggest thing is we saw them in the displays is it's great if you just use them normally. It shows that pop, catches the shopper's eye. But I think already it's what are the things that could be innovative that start to drive it even further. As you see these couple of panels that actually have the LEDs kind of behind a printed cloth to create the effects of movement, either the underwater scene with the submarine coming at you, or the aurora in the camping scene out there on the mountains, which really makes you look like you're under the night sky instead of just a static image. Innovative way of applying lighting to really attract the shopper's attention and engage them. And I think the one example that we saw in our audits that probably came the closest to being a bit innovative around this was this Hue display in Best Buy, where, as you can see, it's only a small video clip, but really that the colors are changing. Now, I would imagine your house, you're not going to want to have green and blue and red lights as the display uses it, but it's showing that overall capability as well as doubling with just the attention-grabbing effect of that shift in light and content that really captures the shopper's attention. The next area to highlight is new. And this is from a shopper survey that was done by Carbon View at the beginning of 2017, asking shoppers about their likelihood to try a new brand or product when it's displayed. And again, this is across categories. I'd imagine with consumer electronics, this may be balanced a little bit more than some more impulse-driven categories. But without a doubt, particularly millennials called out, yes, 36% of them said, I'd be more likely to try a new product or brand when it's displayed. So that very important cohort definitely loves the idea of trying new when it's called out. And it's one of the things I realize in these categories because particularly with the permanent nature of many of the displays, it's difficult to make that call out. But it is a critical piece that I think shoppers will call out and see. In this case, kind of tangential. This is more into the movie and entertainment, but in Target doing a great job of, with the lighting, as mentioned earlier, really highlighting new movies. So the shopper goes, ooh, I better check this out. There may be something here that, even though I was in the store 3-4 weeks ago, I better check this out. Maybe there's something different on there that I want to maybe pick up so the family can watch. Again, what are ways that could potentially be applied into the categories and environments we're working in, knowing that that trigger, that new call out does have an impact, particularly with millennials. Scale, and this is an easy one to engage the shopper. We saw this throughout, the giant tables, again, here in Best Buy, and not just the flat table with the back wall panel, but Amazon, Alexa really creating this, huge wall in the middle of the store, kind of at a different angle to a lot of the different tables. So they're able to create quite a display with the scale. They also do a nice job, again, with the lighting of both the overall display to highlight it, as well as the sample products on the tabletops and even into the shelving of the product merchandise below. A very nice activation that, comes together beautifully in terms of both lighting, but also more importantly, the scale that it provides. Samsung, again, a lot has already been talked about the stores in the store within Best Buy's an example of, again, that really tall beacon for the Samsung TVs in a Best Buy. And Google, again, also much like Amazon next to it, gigantic table, in this case using the more standard back wall that is there in Best Buy, but creating that giant block. But it's not just Best Buy that can do that. Here's an example in a Target store, really playing up the idea, and Target does a great job with their overhead signage, connecting with the signs below to create an overall look feel. They do a great job of it in their seasonal section. Here's a beautiful example in electronics to create that space and communication all around connected living. It is about how do you draw in that shopper from 30 feet away as they approach closer into 10 feet and hook them so they're right up upon the display. We love to take that approach and love seeing that sort of approach that really creates those layers that draw the shopper in. Another example, not necessarily just specific for the category, but this is, again, at Target, GoPro with the giant banner that, again, hangs off the ceiling. Can't be missed. It is a standout piece that is, does not have a lot of similar pieces around it in Target, so it definitely pops, draws the eye in from afar down the aisle, and you come right into the giant video screen that really highlights the product, as well as, again, the product nicely lit that really highlights, the GoPro display here. Another one, Fitbit. Again, they're doing a lot with it. They have the lighting, the giant display monitor with video that, again, draws them in. What I like nicely in this also, and it's not necessarily the new item, but it is that highlighted item. And maybe the Ionic in this case, this probably is one of their newer items. They didn't necessarily call it out as new, but they have that featured benefit there to that particular one. They have other wearables there on the panel. Just to the right of it, you can see in the picture on the left, I don't know if the arrow comes across on the webinar, but there's a couple low, but also they have that featured one, which again kind of draws in, kind of goes, ooh, what's this? This got to be something different. It's something special that really helps, again, pop off that display that particular model must be the latest and greatest. So really sharp execution, something different from Fitbit instead of the ones that you had seen earlier. At the same time, still utilizing many of the similar type of branding elements, again with the teal, and instead of a large band around it, kind of backlit around the side. Really a sharp execution. Next area and I tie this in with engagement, and it is taking that 30-20, 30-10, 3-foot example in. It's making sure that the area, the display is shoppable. And, some of the statistics from this past holiday season from NRF's survey shoppers are hectic. Shoppers are have attention deficit. They're going a mile a minute. And 77% of shoppers said they left stores because they could not find what they were looking for. Right there goes, wow, in the holiday season, that's how many people ended up walking out because they didn't find what they wanted. Gen Zers and millennials, 90% will second guess their purchase. And then a whole bunch definitely want that idea of recommendation. Both men and women, over 50% said that idea of a recommendation, retailer recommendation, really helps them close the deal in this busy, hectic environment. So a few tidbits to take into that. And what we've seen, Best Buy is kind of in the midst of transitioning over where, and this is in their connected home area, in the past had a whole variety of individualized displays for a variety, for all the different brands. And it was, without a doubt, this is a newer category, so that makes sense of where that began. And as individual manufacturers had, great products to come to them, they put out different display units. Not necessarily the easiest to shop, but they've now really are rolling out this setup that is obviously very regimented into how the products are displayed. They still have, again, pulling from the elements we talked about, the lighting. So each brand is highlighted by that lit logo at the top. For the most part, a video screen so they can tell their story about that product. In all cases, the product is out of package, and we'll talk about that further on down the line so the shopper can really see it, engage with it, hopefully, and then, the various features, benefits there. So they've gone to a much more streamlined look that they put this entire department, and we've seen stores with up to 15 of these type of units spread across 2 or 3 aisles that are out there. So a really sharp look where they're trying to clean up and make the entire area a lot more shoppable. And it's not just a Best Buy. Walmart, you can see very clearly in this shot from their consumer electronics department in the speakers area, again, very straightforward look, feel that they want all the brand manufacturers to fall into, where it's all the similar size display, same size for the front edge lip that has basic key claim, the products on top, and then the back panels that all set accordingly. There's a little bit of variation. Some have video units, some have lighting, et cetera, allowing the brands to play a little bit, but from an overall look feel, it provides a bit of uniformity down that row that the shopper can look at. Now that said, after last year's consumer electronics audit, which we focused on Club, we did some further analysis on that experience. And one of the very interesting things that we began and applied various tools like 3M's visual attention software to the experiences we went through was to really look at, okay, again, an area, how is the shopper beginning to see that area? Where does their first eye glance go? How does their eye track along that aisle? And it starts to pick out those key pieces of, again, in a club store, that the eye tracks along that top third of the pallet skirt. That is what the shopper is using to navigate this environment. So some of the key findings then are that's where key branding needs to be, or key visual image that's going to get the shopper to the pallet that they want to shop, or inspire them to get to that pallet. So similarly, going back, the idea of, is this really achieving that as well from that far off view, what can really drive and inspire the shopper that stands out in this to pick and to get to the activation that inspires them, rather than this looking like just a clean sweep of white displays. What helps them understand which is better than the other? Maybe room for some opportunity. Let's get back ahead. Next area to talk about is education. And what we saw in this area was a few different things that surprised me. One, charts, icons, and I think working with folks, this is always really helps, again, guide the shopper's eye, keeps it simple, helps drive through a decision-making process. This life-proof example has a couple of good icons that are big, bold, catches the shopper's attention, their eye, and then they can read the fine print if they find that is the thing that they want to learn more about. Or a very clear and simple chart that can really explain the benefits with dots, something nice that, again, someone can go, all right, there's a host of different SKUs on this display. Which one is for me? Here you go. It's lined up pretty clearly of which one of the life-proof lineup should they purchase based on, a simple chart to help them navigate the product line. The other one, this whole area, the shoppers are coming to brick and mortar so they can experience the product, and for the most part, the display activations lived up to that. 81% of the displays we saw had product out of package. A couple of quick examples: Ultimate Ears, nicely having their new speakers out of the package right on the shelf, but I thought even more cool was the one that's actually in sand, all set, showing you this thing's ready for the beach. I thought that was pretty cool. Guaranteed the shopper can't touch and feel that one. It's kind of behind the acrylic to hold the sand, but it really comes across this thing is going to survive, my trip to the beach. The various watch bands in this case, I think were sharp. Again, if you order online, you don't know what exactly you're getting. You see images. Here you can touch, feel, see how thick they are, what's the quality of the band, and you really get to see it out of the package, because you see below most of the packaging for these are all in boxes. So here, again, the shopper can really see, what am I buying? Is this really, this is the one that I want because it's got the quality I want. Similar in a different category in Best Buy, but all of the mice and keyboards, again, you can get your hand on the mouse, feel how it fits, etc. They don't actually have the full demos here to see how responsive for these gaming mice, but at least you kind of get the feel that, this suits my hand, it's going to work, it's going to respond to, and I'm able to win my games by buying this particular one. And just as it happens, the color coding for the various brand blocks that make it very clear between the for gamers by gamers, Logitech and Corsair. Now, as I mentioned, over 80% had the product out of package. 40% actually had some sort of demo unit out there where it wasn't just there, but actually live. Now, obviously, things like the watch bands, I guess, are just out there, less sort of fall into a product demo. But the things like speakers, where, again, and we've all seen these various displays where here at Walmart, press the button, buy the speaker, you'll listen to that speaker play, hear the sound quality, great stuff. More on these various speakers. This is a Target store with a similar Alltech Lansing display and a UE Ultimate Ears display. And even into headphones, where, again, nicely put, try the headphones on, noise canceling, see how they sound. Again, that you can't hear, it blocks all the other noise out. Nicely, again, done, maybe not necessarily with icons, but various key images, again, in the display, so you can see and, quickly the various features and then get to read more if you feel like it. And then video players, another great way to educate shoppers. 37% of all these activations had video players, a huge number. Last year when we did club stores, less than 5% had video. But when you move into Targets, Best Buys, Walmart's, 37% of the activations had a video player. Whether it's just a plain video player like the GoPro here, decent size, really highlighting the features and benefits and what does a GoPro do, great on a loop, to a video player that's rigged up with, in this case for a Square, 4 push buttons. So you can pick a particular benefit or feature you want to learn more about. It goes right to that part of the video loop, and you can see that feature and benefit rather than having to sit through the entire loop and focus on what you want to learn. And interesting to me from a screen perspective, we saw very, very few touch screens. This is probably one of 2 or 3 that we saw in all of our auditing of all the 270 plus activations. So touchscreen is something that has not become that prevalent yet, as much as that's out there. I have to smile. One of our account managers who was out auditing a Best Buy was literally going around screens trying to go, man, there's got to be more of them. And as you know, Best Buy with their various assistants there were kind of kept bumping into him and saying, do you need any help, sir? But he's like, I'm just trying to see if, learn more and see if this is touchscreen. But it wasn't. Very few were. So again, there's obviously cost, trade-offs, ROI investments. Is this a route to go? But from a perspective of engaging the shopper and providing them education and allowing them to navigate through key features, comparisons, even from that aspect of needing, recommendations, social media recommendations, etc. A touch screen that's hooked up can provide all that, but again, it's a matter of doing the analysis on does all of that additional interactivity provide the ROI at the end versus a plain video monitor that tells your brand story. Again, that's going to vary from activation to activation, but something to obviously experiment is all of these technologies. Prices continue to drop on all of these technologies. They continue to mature. So a few examples of putting it together. I love some of the Dyson things, very strong branding. On the left, it is again, all highlights around the minimalist look and feel of Dyson as their products go, as well as obviously their brand. On the left, the new hair dryer that you can buy for $399. That's in a Best Buy with a giant screen and a demo model, but really, a slick look and feel. And then in Target, Dyson doing the same thing, the same look feel with demo units. Again, who can't, obviously calls out the key benefits of these from the air filtration, removing allergens and pollutants, but also right there is a demo model. You can feel the cool right there in store. So really, really sharp with regards to that. Nintendo Switch, a few different activations. They did very nicely and fairly consistently across retail environments. You can see it on the left in Target, on the right in Walmart. They have something similar in Best Buy that definitely helps them maintain a strong brand presence across channels. But again, a bit of scale with the giant activation. It almost looks like their Switch unit with the piece on the left, video unit, lighting, and a demo as well, so you can really see how the whole system works. So a real sharp activation that they employed across retail environments. And I'm saving the best one as we saw for last. I really love this Beats headphone example in Target, where obviously very high tech, the giant monitor, a really sharp look with the blacks and dark grays, but as well, really use thinking about material as well. You know, it is a full experience. In this case, using that felted, like sound room type of material as the backdrop to the entire end cap was really sharp. That really brings a richness to this. Obviously, these are expensive headphones, so you obviously need to merchandise that accordingly to really highlight the value of why buy these Beats headphones. And again, as well as the units on those felt model heads, as well as the sharp encased in acrylic examples for the earbuds. Just some really a rich activation, as well as then a great video on top of that to tell the story. Couple of opportunities, and I know we're going to try to wrap up here in about 10 minutes for folks, so that way you have from a timing perspective where we're heading. But a couple of opportunities, and not many, but the one that we kind of smiled with at Target, and we realized each store is part of the fun of pulling these together. But if you see this set, and it was tough. I'm a pretty tall guy, 6'2". Realized this at the top, that there are a couple of units all the way at the top here mounted in this planogram for speakers. And they literally are actually trial units. They are set up, plugged in for sound to test, but you would never know it if even myself as 6'2", I had to really reach up to even feel to see if there were buttons up there, because they were taller. The buttons are above my eye level. So it is just that thought process of how do we design activations and spaces that obviously are at the level of where our shoppers are at, so they can engage with the activation. Bringing back to the top, we talked about a couple of the key things that what the youngest shoppers are looking for. And that innovative experiential stores as galleries, I think you saw a lot of various activations that are bringing that to life. Another one, Best Buy literally here creating this door for the various home security systems as this example. And this is probably even smaller than other ones. I know there's been some, Target has had a test store in San Francisco that's been literally clear with the various products highlighted, life-size house that you walk through. But the idea of bringing that to life, and here in Best Buy, is something that, again, I think we're going to see more and more of, and how do we make all of the various activations engage that shopper with the experience of what the products are going to bring. The other areas, new technologies will be fundamental. And I've had a couple of, recent, conversations with various customers and the like of just, what's actually surprising is the technologies to get to a Minority Report type of store, scary, but are not that far off. I mean, what we've seen out there, we've seen a whole variety in Euroshop and in practice and test stores, a variety of smart mirrors in the upper left where you can virtually try on clothes, change the color of the dress of the shirt, etc., swap them out, scan, and this one is scan up the subway wall, the various items you want, so they're ready to either be picked up or delivered to your home, or windows that, there was a store in New York you could touch, order, and literally put in the address of where you will be in 1 hour, and they'll be delivered to you. So you'd be all set to head out to the club that night with your new outfit. So the technologies are there and are coming along. Facial analysis, the other part of Minority Report, out there. The technology is there. I've worked and engaged a couple of vendors that can real time see who is in front of a display in terms of gender, age, emotion, can serve up content accordingly in terms of video content to match that particular target shopper that as a marketer is best suited for that shopper. Walmart's actually testing out where looking at the security camera at checkout and understanding emotion. So they're using it as a product, as a training opportunity for their employees that, hey, if you get a lot of smiley faces and, you know, the people in your checkout line are happy, you're doing a great job. If you're not, maybe have someone take a look. What can we be doing better so that way more shoppers are leaving the store happy? Another one, again, I didn't see it in any of our audits. So, again, these are probably a lot more experimental, but I'm sure are going to be tried more and more as we see this in the upcoming months. Smart shelves, video playing, that can be hooked up to that sort of facial recognition software to serve up content that's appropriate for the shopper. The content can adjust as you approach the shelf. You know, as you're afar, it's pictures, brands. As you approach, more information as you're right up on top of it, the price tags, as well as being able to monitor the product on the shelf, understand inventories, understand what's taken off. Again, getting that way towards that Amazon Go type of store. And then, you know, we've had a variety of engagement with both customers and various companies around scan technologies, NFC, beacon technologies. We didn't see any activations of these in store in all of the audits we had done, realizing it's a challenge with these and the multiple mobile platforms that are out there to work, and that's probably some of the challenge, but I look for some of these to try and start to break into some of the markets so that way people are using that supercomputer that's in their pocket or purse instead of having to invest giant dollars into the display, and allows them to, again, customize the experience. And the same thing, you know, adding to that the idea of augmented reality. We've seen this with some various packaging options. In this case, Bombay Sapphire, you scan the packaging and then an augmented reality experience comes to life. In this case, highlights a variety of drink recipes, cocktail recipes, so you drink more Bombay and come back and buy more. But the same thing could be done in store to really, you know, create that experience around the product and highlight what the product can do for that shopper and help drive them to convert and buy the item. So as I want to sum up here and wrap, as we move into various activations in the consumer electronics area, it's 3 E's that I think about is engage the shopper. What's the best way to break through in the environment that's going to get the shopper to your brand, to your product, and engage with it? That next step then is it's creating the education. We saw lots of video, some amount of charts and things. I think that's, I'll say frankly, it still has opportunities. Is it more touch screens? Are there other technologies that can help the shopper navigate through and educate them about the products that are going to really help them convert there? Because that's a lot of why they're coming to a brick and mortar, is to experience and learn, and how do we convey that information to them. And the final E is experiment. I think there's a lot of new stuff out there. Obviously, consumer electronics is on the cutting edge. I'll say, as we've looked at other product categories, there's nowhere near the engagement and educational tools with video and lighting and those sort of pieces in other categories. But it still begs, is knowing this, you can't rest on the laurels. What are those new technologies that can begin to be applied? Is it more touchscreen? Is it more of the smart type of apparatuses that can be out there that can really bring a even more robust experience and engage more of the shopper's senses that is going to make them, really purchase your product and become a brand loyalist. That's what I have today. Again, if anybody's got questions, you can pop them in. I don't have any at the moment, so that will make this easy. But you will get an email from me later this afternoon, this evening, with my contact information. Please do not hesitate to reach out with any questions, comments, requests. If you want any parts or pieces of the deck that was shown, or to continue the conversation. Like I said, this is kind of the tip of the iceberg. We have a whole host more of additional images and can get into specific categories or specific experiences. The other one is, what would love to potentially engage, and we're going to look at some of those other tools like the 3M visual attention software and applying it to some of the various activations to again highlight further what could be done better. If you're interested in that as well, please do not hesitate to reach out. Hopefully this was interesting for all of you. I got one question came in. Let me see if I guess I'll get this a little better. All right, so the question is, any insight on the demo products on displays providing lift for sales ROI? And I'm going to say that's a great question, and I'm going to say I don't have a great answer for that. I'm going to say it probably very much depends on the product or category, on how important that is, and but it's something I would love to monitor further as it goes along. As Great Northern happens, we don't necessarily have access to all the sales data, and even if we did, it would be confidential to our customers. But general trends, I would say, is the more engagement that the shopper has with the product, the better, as long as it's meaningful to that shopper. So it may be a piece of trying to understand and doing some interviewing with shoppers in your category if such a feature is really necessary. They may be doing some quick research, and we've done some quick studies for some of our customers in that way with shoppers to really understand, ask them some questions of how do they shop a category, what's important to them as they shop a category, and that could be a survey that could be run. Hopefully that helps a little bit. If you have want more in depth on that, again, don't hesitate to reach out, and again, I can help facilitate some of that surveying as well if that's of interest. So I want to thank everybody today for their time. I hope everybody has a good rest of the day. Hopefully the winter weather, March is coming in like a lion at this point. Hopefully you got everybody. I know there's been a bunch of snowstorms and weather that are out there. Survive that one. And I want to say the other one is we're going to be at Global Shop in Chicago at the end of March. Don't hesitate also to stop by the Great Northern Instore booth. I'll be there. Again, we can have a definite continue any conversations at that show as well. So thank you much, everybody. Have a great afternoon.